Now we're going to go to Pillars of Adventuring, Dungeon Master's Workshop. I'm Tim Gwain.
And I'm Kes from McKnight. And before we get into that, for this side of it, we're still going to talk about how you can support us. Again, twitch.tv/Kes from McKnight. That way you can watch this stream as we do it live every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Whether that be standard daylight, I don't even.
Who knows at this point?
Yeah, it's the time I set the clock and I go with it. The other way you can support us, aside from liking, sharing, subscribing, and turn on that notification bell on the YouTube videos, patreon.com/Pillars of Adventuring, much like the bar up top. All one word. You can become Patreon there, support us, and we'll be able to do more content of this and keep spreading the brain droppings we have to help you and your players have a better and higher quality game, something that gives memorable moments each session. And boy howdy, do we always get memorable moments in our session.
That's true.
That stupid broom.
Yeah, that broom.
Yeah, the giant monster didn't touch me. The broom took me out 2 hits. Anyway, we told you we'd be getting into...
bitter about it.
Not at all, no. We told you we would get into some specific types of NPCs, and we're going to do a little bit of game theory about it today, too, as well. So, time to get the DM cloak on, which I really wish I had a DM cloak. But, that's beside the point. Let's do it.
Now, I want to, besides commiserating over the fact that Kes doesn't have a DM cloak, my other DM in the homebrew, he has a DM hat. He can't DM without the hat. It's pretty cool.
It's fair.
As a player, I want to tell you that I love interacting with the NPCs. Frankly, I may do it a little too much.
That will be coming to bite you, by the way.
I hate you, Kes.
I know.
But the NPCs are the lifeblood of the setting. We're the outside source of change, but the NPCs are the static elements. I like to use them as ways to showcase my character's personality without going nuts on the other players. For instance, when my druid wood elf met Quellen Alderleaf in Fandelver, in the Lost Mine of Fandelver, he became friends with her and her son Carp, and every time they went back to Fandelver, that's where Valerian went. He went to go see Quellen, so that there was that kind of attachment to the town itself.
And that's fair. You do have some more opportunity for RP moments and a catalyst moment, than trying to force RP moments on characters. A perfect example was last Friday. Tim and I actually had a good exchange that really highlighted the dichotomy of our two characters in Curse of Strahd. I'm a much more by-the-book, try to keep everybody alive situation with Destin. And for lack of better term, Ewan is compassionate to a fault.
Yeah.
And Destin doesn't take kindly to that and tried to throw it in his face, and also Ewan's a little shit. Throwing that out there. Fine, I'm just gonna stop and save my own ghost children that are already dead. We missed the saving part, but going on from there. But that kind of thing would not have happened if Tim and I haven't known each other for over a decade.
Yeah.
So we can play off of that because we generally know how to deal with that. There are some people in my party that I wouldn't have done that particular thing, that level with, just because it could have been a bit jarring. I got my wife with that one. You can actually hear in the broadcast, she's going, "Oh my God," and I had to ask if she was okay. So there are a few main types of NPC that you should be prepared for. And I'm going to reiterate something that I mentioned last week. If you do not want your players to interact with an NPC beyond a minor interaction, do not name them. To name them gives them importance. Giving them importance means they're more likely to have or do or give you something cool.
Also, it's important to describe them very, very generally. Don't get into too much detail if you want them ignored. It's not a 100% fix, but it will keep the players on track. Actually, let me rephrase, it could keep the players on track. The biggest moments in the game can come from the smallest interactions. These could be enemies, townfolk, merchants, kobolds. Um, I mean, in Tyranny of Dragons, we have a kobold friend who is actually my tiefling bard's apprentice, and he's been with us now for 2 levels and 4 sessions. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty important to us.
And again, it is not 100% fixed, because I was talking with another dungeon master earlier today whose players got stuck for an hour investigating a goose. Because he just happened to say a goose crossed their path, so they did history checks and arcana checks and a step, going, goose. Now, geese being a threat is pretty on brand for a goose. So I can't
True.
blame the players too much for that one. But there are 3 main types you will need. That's it. 3. You can recycle personality. You can recycle voices. 3 different types of NPC. Plot NPCs, filler NPCs, and antagonist NPCs. Now, the plot NPCs are going to be your main quest giver. They can be anyone, literally anyone. But you need to have them have a reason for the quest. So, it could be a farmer that's been losing animals to some weird disease, and the adventurers need to find that, what's going on, and we stumble across that there's a cursed crypt underneath the barn that housed an ancient civilization that housed this evil mold, or whatever else. It could be that the mayor is seeking a bandit leader, or it could be something as simple as, hey, I need an escort to town B. And it gets the players moving. Plot NPCs are there to give plot points to the players and progress your adventure. A match to start the fire, as it were.
Yes, and sadly, I have nothing more to say about that because plot NPCs tend to annoy me sometimes because they're always offering money, and most of my characters want to give money than get it.
Oh yeah,
I'm
looking at Sklodbud very hard here.
Yeah, yeah. Sklodbud does like to throw it around like he's got it. I probably spend way too much time on the filler NPCs, but know that they're there for flavor. Like with my druid, who befriended Quellen in Lost Mine of Fandelver. Carp and he became friends. He taught Carp how to play chess. Every time they were in Fandelver, or Fandolin, that's what he did. He played chess with carp and chatted and all of that. So I do tend to do these. These are anyone that the players interact with that may or may not be directly involved in the plot. They are more important for the player backstory and the lore of the area than they are for the plot of the campaign. These NPCs don't necessarily need a whole lot of character development, unless, of course, I'm playing in your game, in which case then you're going to have to figure all kinds of stuff out.
Oh, I'll have
Um,
something for that in a moment.
but they are reactionary to the PC. Um, they should know a little bit about the area and be something for the players to play off of. They should rarely offer a lot without some sort of interaction with them.
And so with the character development side of it, you don't need to put a lot of pre-thought into them. So making it reactionary to the PC. So I had a basic idea for Deacon, basic thought in my head as to what a kobold would react to. And when Deacon earned the love of the party, I asked as a dungeon master how crazy they wanted to be. The reason I do that is, as the dungeon master, I am not the one that... Okay, let me rephrase. With this particular party, the campaigns that I'm running, I don't have to instigate action with the party.
No.
There are a few parties I've had where I've had to force an action for them, just to keep things moving, and that's okay. You can do that, and I will get into some ways about that next week. But with Deacon, I had an idea. It worked with his kind of little psychotic personality. Asked for the okay. And then it turned into a giant ball of chaos where hundreds of kobolds went to their death.
Stop it. I still feel guilty about that.
So this is giving the ability to build in lore and all of that other information. Think about some of the people you know in your day-to-day life. Outside of your immediate circle of friends, aside from the basic and obvious, what do you know about them? Steal their personality. I'm not kidding. Steal their person. Don't steal their name.
For
Steal their
Deacon, he
personality.
stole my personality.
Sometimes.
So.
But no, it is... There is no problem stealing personalities from characters or people you know, television, TV. Every character that exists. It's been done.
And I will tell you that he's made Deacon such a strong character that he and I trade off running Deacon, because I kind of sort of know where he was heading with Deacon to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And because he is Skladba's protege or whatever, it's easy for me to run him at some time and for Kes to run him at other times.
And in the combat situation with Deacon, he is easily able to be used as basically a sidekick and go and do stuff. That's easy enough. When it comes to personality and plot point, large part I'll just put in a tidbit here and there with Deacon, and we'll move on, carry through. It's easy enough to do. Now we get into the antagonist NPC. These are basically any encounter you're up against, any monsters, any villains. They are your big bad evil guy, or the henchman, or anywhere in between. Now here's one of the biggest issues that gets overlooked, and I I think about the first Incredibles movie every time. You got me monologuing! Too often do the villains get caught monologuing. They do that stupid James Bond villain, I'm going to tell you my whole plan, and oh look, you'll never get out. Oh, you got out! You can fix this problem by pulling just a few strings here and there. Number one, don't rely on Big Bad Evil Guy to be the only one doing the talking. You should have moments throughout. Where would the subordinates or the lackeys, the henchmen, know about the plan, know about the issue? What are we going to do here, here, and here? So you can give hints and plans and secrets. If your party is a bunch of murder hobos that just run around and kill everything, force them to have plot. So they come into the group, before they can do anything, they overhear XYZ. They find plans that are conveniently located right in front of the people they just slaughtered. Oh, look at that, they're magically enchanted so the blood doesn't stain the parchment. It's like they were made for a bunch of people who just go around killing everybody they see to not ruin the plan. Not that that's ever happened before. The point here is to feed bits over the session of the campaign for them to stew and mull over. Even if you did the first part, what I suggested last week, where you give them the synopsis, you kind of have an idea of where the big bad evil guy is. Just because you told them doesn't mean that you can't throw a red herring, because players are naturally suspicious people. And will take whatever clue you give them. Like, oh, he must have changed his plan. No, I did not.
Well, and I mean, if the players are not being metagamers, their characters wouldn't know that anyway. For instance, when we were in the camp, Skladba, my tiefling bard, and who was it who was with me? Was it Kelkris or was it Neuroxus? Anyway,
I'm going to need more information because I'm not sure which in the camp you're talking about.
We overheard two of the cultists talking about how the cult has changed.
Oh, that was neither. That was Jonah. No, it was Neurexis, because Neurexis had that, and then Jonah and Helcris went to investigate Leos.
Okay. So we overheard cultists talking about how it was changing. Now, we as players, I believe, understood during the synopsis at session 0 what was going on with the Cult of the Dragon. But as characters, they didn't know that until they overheard the two cultists talking about it. So a lot of times your players would know, and if they're not metagamers, they're going to treat that information as if it's brand new information, like they've never heard it.
And that's something I do want to touch on, even though it's not directly involved with the NPCs. For those that don't know, we'll throw some definitions on you. Metagaming is using knowledge that the player character has no reason of knowing, and using it in-game to make a decision. For example, and I've done this a couple times because as a DM, a player, and general overall nerd, I know a lot about a lot in the world. And I tend to play characters that would as well. There are some times we're going, okay, I think I know what's going on here as the character, but before I say it, tell me, do I pass or fail having the knowledge check? And roll the check, they say, yes, you know, and then I spit the information. sometimes forcibly. They say, "Oh yeah, you know some information. All right, blah, 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 blah." Well, no, it's where they are in the lore. Did you retcon it? No. Then it's where they are in the lore. No, fight me.
I will tell you that this happened just last weekend as I was editing our game this last weekend. I realized that I metagamed a little bit.
Kind of.
Our druid and I were we were investigating a cave that had some items in it, and there were two bags, and they both looked similar, and so the druid said, "I'm just going to throw everything into the bag of holding," which was one of the bags. The other bag was a bag of devouring, and it's like, no, you don't put one interplanar thing into another. Explosion or implosion, whatever will happen. So immediately my character said, "Don't, I'll carry that other bag, don't put that in there." And I realized that I metagamed. However,
Kind of with how we set up Skladba's origin is his tiefling bloodline is through a lesser known demon known as Abraxas. Abraxas's demonic domain is the unknown. So how this shows up with Skladba is on any magical, so any arcana or history check dealing with magical items, there is no such thing as a fail for him. It's just a matter of how useful the information will be. Something like that, of extraplanar knowledge, it would have been screaming through his blood, "Don't do this."
right. So thankfully, my character fit that. However, you have a barbarian who is played by someone like I, who knew what the bag of devouring is.
Oh, if Caradoc
And
did that, I would have had an issue.
yeah. There would be no way that my barbarian would have known that. So it would be like, okay, that's metagaming, and it'd be like, we have to set this back a little bit. No, you didn't say that. You didn't, and now we're going to reap the consequences because Jonah was going to put it in there without really figuring it out.
And there are... So, generally speaking, metagaming is bad. There are some times where, as a player, you want to keep your DM on it. We make mistakes. There's also times where we go, okay, strictly by the book, yes, you shouldn't be facing XYZ monster. I will generally put in those cases, this is a adolescent, this monster is acting differently than you normally would expect. And that is a subtle cue for the player to know, I've adjusted this monster to have a narrative point as opposed to the traditional stat block you would find. Because you can do that! If you want to have your players go up against a baby Tarrasque, why? But you could! Again, why?
No, Kes, no. I'm begging you.
It's a baby Tarrasque. It would have half, if any of the resistances wouldn't have any. What you should be more afraid of is when I figure out what is the Tarrasque, because in nature, if it has spikes, that means it's protecting itself from predators.
Oh God.
Yeah, mull on that one for a bit.
Again, I hate you, Kes.
So, these are the important things to remember. And there are a few times where, yes, we do that rewind, backup situation. But the other important thing is, once it is said, it cannot be unsaid. You cannot do that. That's going to inflict changes. There are a few ways to approach metagaming as a DM. One, sticking on with the NPC concept, to cause them to do an action. So whether it's immediate or down the line, something happened. So, for example, if we did put the Bag of Devouring and the Bag of Holding, because there is no specific thing against those two, even though the Bag of Devouring is different, it may have been able to go through fine. However, you put your hand in to grab the Bag of Devouring. Now that the Bag of Devouring devours you, pulls you into the Bag of Holding, which is then inside the Bag of Devouring, and now you've got three things you need to pull yourself out of. The grip of the extraplanar thing that you've just been pulled into that's trying to eat you, getting out of the Bag of Holding itself, getting out of the Bag of Devouring. You got 3 steps to get out. Yes, I would do it. And as much as I hate punishing players, sometimes you do. You have to hold them responsible for the consequence one way or the other. Because if you don't, there's no point in making those decisions.
And another point as a player, we as players also hold our other players accountable as well. We can exact revenge or bless with rewards as well to our fellow players, and DMs have to understand that when a player makes a bad or a good decision, the other players are going to react accordingly as well. And
yes.
And the DM needs to just be able to say, it was your decision. You did it.
And there are points, and I've been on both sides of this, so I'm trying to be impartial. If you make a bad decision as a player and own up to it, that is infinitely better than just making a bad decision and then doing the worst thing ever.
I will tell you that
that's how my character would do it.
Yeah, no, I despise that's how my character will do it.
And play a different character.
Unless your character, like my little halfling ranger, who saw a bronze dragon during battle, and he went up and he touched the bronze dragon's tail.
Did you get consent?
No, I
Rude.
did not. That is the thing. So it flew its wings and knocked my little halfling. This was after he went into a group of goblins because he hates goblins.
There's making bad decisions like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's making bad decisions like, I see we have 4 of our members locked in melee combat. I'm going to take my Arcanist Grenade and throw it in the middle of all of them. Oh look, now you get to roll 5d8 damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just a bad decision. That is, to my mind, asking your party to either kill your character or ask you, the player, to leave. Some tables do not allow player versus player combat. I will under certain circumstances. One, and this happened in a game last week. First is, if it makes sense roleplay-wise, there was all of one sentence said by a character before he did an attack that severely hurt to the other player character. And again, I normally as a DM try not to get involved, but I ask, are you sure you want to do this? He confirmed. And then they turn and start attacking him. Why are you doing that? Wouldn't you? You said nothing to them. You're still saying nothing to them. They took 3 rounds and you said nothing in your defense. And then they killed you. It's
Yeah, it was that situation is one of the reasons why I brought this up to you
you
DMs,
you earn your
because
death.
um and that's what I love about the way that Kes DMs, and what I encourage you DMs, um make your players earn their deaths. Don't do it. Don't throw a TPK in there just because you want to throw a TPK in there. Make them earn their deaths, and I think we said that last week as well.
In the 20 plus years I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, my parties, be it through playing or as a dungeon master, I think I've only had 2 TPKs, and one of them. Actually, no, I've had 2 TPKs as a dungeon master and 2 TPKs as player. One of them, the dice hated us. Um, Nothing I could have done on that one because we literally couldn't save a roll to save our lives.
Oh man.
Um, the second one was, and the DM apologized, and he did a Deus Machina to save us because he screwed up on the balance difficulty of that encounter. Cool, that's fine. He also didn't do why we have the DM screen, hide the rolls, because as a DM, you are within your rights to fudge your rolls. You do not need to show your dice to the players. You are, however, a raging asshole if you decide to fudge your dice against your players. Just say.
Yeah, gotta agree with that one.
There's. While a death can be a great narrative moment, if that is your best idea to get an emotional moment, go back to the drawing board.
Yes.
The threat of loss is oftentimes stronger than the loss itself.
Right. Right. And understand too that when I talk about this, know that I am not just a player. I'm also a DM. I'm not as strong a DM as Kes is. I've not DM'd as long as he has, but I am also a DM, so I do know both sides of the screen, right? Uh, I'm not completely oblivious to how hard it is for your part of the gaming table,
Mm-hmm.
um, as a DM. So, hey, don't just kill a character to kill a character, make them earn it. I really mean that. I do. When I'm DMing, I will fudge a couple of rolls because it's like, no, I don't want this bad guy to hit my character and to hit my player character because I kind of like the player character and I kind of overshot this. So
Yeah.
I gotta fudge that a little
And
bit.
if you get a situation, then there's a few times where I'll just let, you know, the first couple sessions, personally, even if I roll a 20 with my NPCs, my monsters, rarely will they ever crit. Um, with the exception of if someone starts acting smug. Like, okay, here you go, Mr. Funny Man. Roll. Enjoy that 15 points of damage.
Ouch.
Um, because again, they're earning their death. It's not always the character actions that make them earn it. Sometimes their ego needs to be deflated.
Yeah,
It
not gonna lie.
it is
That's
a
true.
matter of finding that balance and don't go out of your way to punish the player. Everyone's here to have a good time, and you are not against them. You are with them.
Right. Right. And that's something too that I like to say to everybody that I'm talking to, first time players and DMs. It's collaborative storytelling. It's not the DM versus the players. Used to be, there was a point way back when it used to be the DM against the players, but it's not. It's collaborative storytelling,
Hmm.
and all you have to do is just watch some of our streams, some of our streams, some of other streams where they're all talking about, um, they're all sharing the story. Tyranny of Dragons. I'm loving playing Tyranny of Dragons with Kes as the at the helm, because it is truly collaborative storytelling. We are having so much fun. I'm having fun anyway. I don't know about the rest of them. I think they are, but
I've heard good things from everybody so far.
yeah. Um, so yeah, and again, um, if you want to watch those streams, check them out because they're really great. Check out the live stream on Twitch. We also have it on our YouTube channels as well. Both Kes and I have them on our YouTube channels. So
Yeah, and you'll get all those links, and all of the links in there are in my Twitch profile, twitch.tv/KestrelMcKnight, Kestrel_McKnight. And that will bring you to the YouTube. The YouTube will link in through. You can also search Kester McKnight on YouTube. Also Tim Gwayne on YouTube.
mm-hmm. Yep.
We've got all stuff. And of course, all the links are also in Pillars of Adventuring as well.
Yes.
In the description. So, with that, we touched on a bit of things there, dove into a little bit of the game theory on the NPCs. We're going to talk more about game theory and how to build things next week. The crafting of encounters and what that should look like, and my own problems with the challenge rating system. It's a great idea in theory. If you're looking only at the challenge rating, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I will tell you that Kes balances, and we'll talk about this more next week. I just want to throw this out there. Kes balances it very well. Our encounter last week with Ettercap, I never want to see those creeps again ever. He balanced it out so well that there was the threat of death. In fact, one of our characters did go down, and the fact is that there was stress, there was drama, there was I mean, and there were only 8 of those things. We had 4 guard drakes and 5 of us all fighting. It shouldn't have been as hard a battle as it was when you look at the numbers, but it was so much fun because it was exciting. There was that threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kes was talking about earlier, there was that threat, but it wasn't so overpowered that we wound up all dying.
And it was one of those situations where in the beginning of that fight, everyone was kind of like, okay, yeah, we got this, no big deal. And then the fight starts going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, it's getting a little bit better, a little bit easier. And I'm just sitting here going, yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I like it. And I see where everything's going as a little puppet master with the strings.
We were feeling a little smug, that's for sure.
Then all of a sudden, like, oh crap. Oh crap. Like, all right, here you go.
Once Deacon got webbed, I was done. It was like, okay, we gotta save Deacon.
Yeah, and I had a slight concern about how many I put up to begin with. I'm going, well, we've got basically double the party size here.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless the dice are completely against y'all, you're gonna come out.
To be honest, the dice were against you.
For a lot of it, yeah. But that's fine.
They hit us, but they didn't hit the guard drakes, for instance, or
yeah, hardly ever.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good game. So that's what I encourage you guys, and we'll talk more about this again next week and in the coming weeks. But truly look at your party, and try not to, if you have a level 4 group, try not to throw them a CR 15 monster. That's probably not going to work. But a bunch of little monsters, lower CR, and I won't get into that. So I guess
Yeah.
now's a good time for us to end.
So now's a good
And,
time. Next
so
week we'll be diving into a few of the classes, the playable classes in Dungeons and Dragons on the player side, and
mhm,
then we'll also be going over a bit on how to craft the encounters moving forward.
nice.
Specifically focused on homebrews or tailoring your modules to better fit the party you have. So,
Great.
bit of good options on that. Until next time, I'm Kester McKnight.
And I'm Tim Quain.